And good morning, Hoosier Nation, and welcome to another victorious edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Eastern Illinois. 2 days ago, sorry for the delay, as I was driving back from Indiana yesterday, Indiana goes on to defeat Eastern Illinois 90-55, improving to 2-0 in the season. Again, this game was another tale of two halves for IU. IU not fully engaged in the first half. Maybe a little too much celebrating about football. Team was maybe a little too up for that. Needed to wake up and get things going. Not really recovering on a lot of the kickouts and everything on defense. Just not together on the offensive end. Along with a few possessions where they tried to get going, I saw on defense, and just a few mistakes at the end allowed Eastern Illinois to make some pretty ridiculous shots, or were pretty hot with the shots that IU was allowed to give them in that last 5 seconds or so of the shot clock, nearly getting shot clock violations often. All of this would highlight IU to be down at half, 37-36. A few little boos you could kind of hear as I was there in Assembly Hall at that point. Not happy with that. Then thank God whatever the coaches told them or got them going in halftime sunk in. The communication ramped up. Guys stayed engaged on the defensive end, which really led to less turnovers and more missed shots from Eastern Illinois. And I really saw as that half went on, Indiana, or Eastern Illinois, I should say, their legs got a little heavier as they really did have to work for that lead that they had in the first half, despite IU not being fully engaged. Would lead to kind of some major runs to start the second half. IU goes on an 11-0 run at one point. Then Eastern makes a 2-pointer, I think, at that point, and then they go on. Indiana immediately goes on another 13-0 run, leading to a second half score for IU of 18-54 and a 35-point victory. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host, Chad Schwartzkopf. Here with me is Martha, the mop lady. Martha's out for work and everything, so will be here with us for a little bit and then needs to pop out on us. But Martha, give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, nail on the head, tale of two halves. I think there's obviously an interesting. It's an interesting part of the season for, I think, a variety of reasons. Obviously, so many people are still, invested in football, and I think it's an awesome problem to have, right? But a lot of our focus is there right now, and that's not usually the case, this time of year, and our main focus shifts to basketball, and so it's an odd, when I talk to people, it's just an odd. They're kind of casually watching at this point, and it's almost like that's the way the team's playing to start games. It's just kind of a casual style of play. And to your point, it was a tale of two halves, and obviously a frustrating first half, and I'm glad that they reeled it in the game that they needed to. We know how important these games are in terms of your net ranking, especially as the season goes on. You've got to beat these teams, and you've got to beat them by a wide margin. And at the end of the day, we were able to do that. I mean, a 35-point win. That's at the end of the day, that's what you need to do. It doesn't matter really how the first half went. Obviously, we'd like to see the team come out sharp, in tune, engaged. It's a noon Sunday game, so I give them a little bit benefit of the doubt, but they've got to know, right? These games matter. These games, you've got to come out and beat these teams handily. They did that. It's going to look muddy for a while. The first half did. I still tend to cringe a little bit when the three bigs are on the court. You and I have talked about that a lot, and it's easily a squad that could prove me otherwise. I think, we'll get into Mbako and his play, but, having those three big guys on the floor sometimes just makes things look muddier than they are. And it doesn't seem like there's a great flow offensively, but it shifted and some guys stepped up in the second half. So it was good to see. And overall, we got the job done.
Yeah, as Bison says in the chat and everything, definitely a floor and ceiling game, and excited to get about the ceiling. And I think there's a few guys that so far have glimpsed of what their ceilings can be and their possibility can be. And I think this is a game where two players stand out the most to me and make me most excited. And I'll talk about the least expected one first, I guess, Trey Galloway. He has come back nicely from his injury and everything so far. Obviously, they're still kind of limiting his minutes, but he's just playing with an ease and freedom that we haven't seen him have in a while, a kind of relief of responsibility. I mean, he had to carry a lot of things last year with the injuries and everything. We looked to him to score a lot of points for this team and everything. He doesn't have to be that this year for this team. And what he can be and what he has shown, what he is so far for this team is just what we need. I mean, he finished with 5 points, was 2 for 3 from the field, missed the 1 3 that he took. That's a bummer. You'd like to see him at least hit one of those. But the biggest thing is his assists. Finished with 8 assists in this game in just 18 minutes, including an amazing two-hand kind of push-ahead pass from a Luke Goody steal, led to that little push pass that he gave, the no-look to Tucker on the break, Tucker's just been fantastic on those breaks and everything. But within the 2 official games that IU has so far, he's sitting on 17 assists with just 4 turnovers, which is great. I mean, that's what we can hope for him. And I still love him. Rewind the tape to all the episodes. I'm going to be a broken record about this forever. I still love him coming off the bench. I know there's probably a lot of talk and a lot of people saying they want to see him in the starting lineup. Obviously, that would replace Carlisle. I don't like that. I don't want that. I still love Trey coming off the bench, but I want to see them slowly increase his minutes. He needs to be up there closer towards starting minutes, but not necessarily being a starter. Your thoughts on Trey Galloway?
Well, you stole a little bit of my thunder because I was going to compliment him on his turnover to assist ratio, which is awesome. I think you rewind to 2 seasons ago, and when he was coming off the bench, and we had that hot start to the season. I remember the North Carolina home game in particular, where and some games leading up to that point where he's just the spark plug, whether you need it or not, right? I mean, if you've got a slow start, if you start to stumble during the game, he's a guy you bring in off the bench, and immediately the tone of the game shifts. And he's back in a position to be able to do that for Indiana. He's not being asked. I mean, last year it was, why is his 3-point shooting not as good? I mean, he was being asked to do a whole lot more last year, right? We didn't have the perimeter players we have this year. So he was being asked to obviously be a scorer on the perimeter. This year he can do what he's good at, and that's kind of the jack of all trades guy. He'll come in, do what you need him to do. But I mean, you see it so far as he's distributing the ball at a high level, and that's exactly what this team needs, and it's what they needed on Sunday afternoon. You mentioned him starting versus not starting. This roster has a ton of flexibility. And I've got this pipe dream that in my mind that what it is today might not be what it looks like, once we get into the season. I go back to the front court. It's just, we've got a roster that allows us to do so much more than when all those guys are on the court at the same time. So we'll see how it evolves. I think we've got a ton of flexibility with obviously Bryson Tucker and Luke Goody, who we'll get into, but it's a fun spot to be right now because we're 2 games in. And we're already talking about it, but we're talking about it with some nice, decent wins behind us.
Yeah. And I think obviously the bigger bright spot that's continuing to develop for Indiana is the fact that McKenzie is going to be the lead scorer this season. I mean, hands down, barring any injuries or anything go crazy, he's going to continue to, for the most part, unless one player has just a breakout game, be the leading scorer of each game for IU. Finishes in this game as well, just by 1 point, topping the other guys that were close to him with 18 points for him. But it's the other things that you kind of start to see from him this year that are different from last year that's nice to see. 7 rebounds, and being there in person, the way he gets those rebounds, he's so athletic. He's getting in there. He's not just tipping them, trying to just get in there for a hope and a wish. He's going up with 2 hands and stealing down those rebounds. And speaking of steals, he got 2 steals in this game. Second one was just using his length in those regards. That second steal that he got was on that inbound pass, reaching around his player that he was defending and not fouling him, and getting the ball perfectly right under IU's basket and just dunking it down. Just such a disruptor that he can be. Also, just 3 assists, one on just 1 turnover. He's cutting to the basket great, just a stud for IU. I really would love to see them possibly run a few more sets for him, get him rotating around some screens, a little elevator move, maybe even 2 elevator screens, just something to get him more looks and more versatility of looks, because I think he's making the right decisions. He's reading the game. You're really seeing, as you talk about with players making that transition, where the game has really changed for them, has really slowed down for him so much more than it has in the past. So your kind of thoughts on Mackenzie as he continues to be IU's best?
Yeah. When I go back and think about how this team, obviously the last season ended how it ended, and we get into the off season and it's instantly portal time and buttoning up the recruitment, and as we move forward and progress through the summer, there was the excitement about all these guys we're bringing in, right? Rice and Ballo, and he kind of got lost in the shuffle for me, right? And as you start thinking about the team, we added all these new pieces, and it's like, well, we return a major piece, right? And Mackenzie Mbako, and I'm surprised at his play, I guess, and I think a lot of people aren't, but I kind of am. It's just, I think back to how he started last season. So he struggled so early to start the season. Then we get into the season, and it's not exactly going how we want it, but he has some bright moments, and he just has gotten lost in the shuffle for me. So I think to have him playing at this high level to start the season is huge for Indiana and what their ceiling could be. And as these guys continue to get more familiar with playing with each other, I mean, he's a stud offensively. I mean, he's creating his shot. He's hitting the open three. He's providing a dynamic that he didn't for the entirety of last season, and that's playing, solid basketball at both ends of the court. Defensively, he still has his moments, but you're seeing that from the entire team. There was a clip online where it looked like everybody was kind of standing around for a minute, but it's so we'll get there, and I think he'll continue to get better defensively. But he's, we said it after the last game, he continues to play at this clip. He's Big Ten Player of the Year candidate right out of the gate. So hopefully he can take this into the higher competition that's right around the corner. I'm interested to see him in Atlantis and against South Carolina and how he plays against those guys. But right now he's the best player on the court for Indiana, and it's not close.
It might be a little bit of a subconscious hesitation. I know that it's always that cliche of players taking that freshman to sophomore leap. And it's a big leap that a lot of them can take. And I think recently, in the past couple of years in the offseason, we've been very hopeful of a lot of players, not naming any names, but of a lot of players making that freshman to sophomore leap, and they just haven't. And we've been let down on that. So maybe subconsciously that's kind of where that stems, of you kind of not thinking about him in the offseason and everything like that. Before you get going here, I'll let you kind of cook a little bit, as I see you and Nick kind of having a little love fest in the chat, talking about the Ballo Malik playing in together. Both those guys kind of finished with 17 for IU. IU kind of used them in the second half, I will say, to kind of get going. 5 assists between them. I do like seeing those assists from big guys. We're hustling up and down the court a little bit more, but you did say, some of those clips in the of the first half with a lot of standing around and watching and not engaged. But I will say, to contradict the two of you a little bit, and don't hate me, guys, that from a big guy standpoint, I do like some of the high-low action that they're able to run with them. And if they can continue to do that, maybe it's not as bad. And maybe that's just what's keeping me from jumping team Nick Martha. But cook a little bit on your Ballo Malik action.
Listen, I mean, they're both very, very talented guys. And Ballo wasn't brought in to come off the bench. At least I don't assume he was. I think very obviously very coveted in the offseason, in the portal, and what he's going to be able to provide us in the Big Ten season with his size and his defensive value is it's going to be invaluable for Indiana. The challenge is, and as you get through the season, the teams that tend to do well and that are really I think set up to succeed in tournament play are perimeter oriented teams that have great guard play, that have the ability to play high-low. I think Indiana has, obviously, I'll continue to go back to roster flexibility. Just because it looks one way for one game doesn't mean it needs to look the same for the next game. And that's where I get sometimes frustrated with Woody, is like, this is our starting lineup. There's, I'm not going to deviate from it a lot. I'm going to stick with this, Mbako, Ballo, Renew on the court at the same time lineup, regardless of what the situation looks like. Now we're 2 games into this, so I'll preface everything with that. But like, there, to Nick's point, there's this, and I talk about it a lot in my head and with some other IU fans I know, but there's just this world where, Ballo's coming off the bench and it allows you to start, Goody or Bryson Tucker, or, I like Galloway coming off the bench still, but like, just it allows you to start another perimeter oriented guy. I think your offense gets into a better flow much more quicker. It's just, I don't know. It just gets that first half was, I think, a very good sequence to go back and look at. And man, sometimes our offense, when it gets in a rut, I tend to point to having 3 bigs on the court at the same time. Everything looks slow and methodical. But yeah, I think obviously both guys are going to be huge for Indiana moving forward. Ballo with his defensive ability. Renew just continues to get better offensively, and he's a guy you can rely on to get you a basket when you need. So I don't discount what either guy brings to the table. It's just tough to see him on the court to start the game every single time when I think we've got the flexibility that we can do different things. So that's all. And I do need to jump off. So
all right, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining in.
I want to hear what you have to say, and then you'll see me hop off. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. With them, I think it's a matter of I want to look in next game. Next game, I really want to look to see truly how many minutes they are on together. I think because we start both halves with them together, we're quick to think that they're playing a lot of minutes. But I know that when we sub, it's one of the first subs that happens, one of them going out. And we have seen a lot of different lineups and a lot of great lineups that work well. And I will admit to some lineups that I saw where we had both Tucker and McKenzie in together with Gallo, and that kind of situation where I made the comment when I was watching the game to Lee Butler that was sitting next to me that it was a high basketball IQ and a high just experience kind of squad that we went with a lot of times in this game that moved the needle considerably. And just the athleticism that was out there together at that point was great to see. And I think that kind of transitions as well to then talk about the next guy I wanted to talk about, which was Tucker. And it's just amazing. He's an amazing piece for IU to have. To be a freshman like this and to be contributing like he is. Granted, I know, again, it's against the small sample size and the competition that we're playing. We're going to have to wait and see. And he's going to have those freshman moments this year where he can't contribute like you would expect. But just to be able to have someone like McKenzie that is contributing like he is, being your lead scorer, normally when someone like that goes to the bench, especially for us IU fans, and in the past when we've lacked on the talent side, you wonder where's that performance going to go, or what's going to happen now. And a lot of times Tucker's the one coming in for McKenzie, and there's not necessarily that drop off that you would see, and that you get that production out of him with that second unit, or hopefully will most of the time. He's just so athletic, and he's one of those players that just makes the game look so effortless. The only thing really showing how human he truly is has been his teammates, especially in this game, wanting to test as to how high they can lob the ball to him to try to get the alley-oop down. They got a little crazy with it at one point. I'd like to see him maybe attempt the Victor Oladipo, Michigan dunk, the best dunk that never was, alley-oop from Jordan Halls. Might see something like that this year out of him, but just being there in person and seeing his game, it's just fundamentally sound. His shot is a beautiful shot. He's his mid-range that he does that little pull-up, the stop, takes off with 2 feet, gets great elevation, just releases the ball perfectly at the top of his jump. It's beautiful. Nice arc. Perfect. Brings a tear to this Indiana kid's eye every time I see it. But yet I sit there and think I don't want the shoe to drop. I don't want to have that moment of having freshman woes. He's going to have those woes. And we got to be quick to just write it off as such, knowing that he's going to be a kid that can rebound, and not from the sense of rebounding the ball, but rebound in a sense of being, to quote Ted Lasso, to be a goldfish and forget about it. I feel like he is one that is able to brush off bad play and keep in the game and keep going. So that's been great to see. And that's an exciting piece to have for IU. And he's engaged. And the defensive side he's been doing as well, great as well. But it's just great. It's like a more refined Troy Williams, I almost want to say, with it. We'd love to see his 3-point shot develop a little bit more, become that threat as well. But that's all stuff that's going to come. And it's just so exciting to see that, to have him come in for Mackenzie, also to see the two of them out there on the floor together at times is great to see. We even saw actually in this game as well. I totally forgot about this moment till right now. He brought the ball up for IU even a few times in some of the lineups where we had, I think, Goody, Malik, Mackenzie, Trey. Maybe Trey wasn't in at that point because he would have brought it up. But anyways, there's moments where he was the main ball handler, brought the ball up. So Woody giving him full carte blanche in that sense, letting him bring the ball up, run the offense, do some things, just shows the confidence in this kid, and I'm excited about that. And I want him to keep that confidence and that with him and through the airs. And like I said, be the goldfish. Forget about the bad moments and continue to hustle. Don't get down on himself. So exciting. Great player to have. Another player to talk about, I think, is Goody. Goody kind of slid a little bit more in this game into his role as a 3-point shooter, making 2 threes, going 2 for 5. Team as a whole, obviously, the 3-point shot wasn't exactly there as much as we would like to. I'll get at that in stats, but he was active on the defensive end. Like I said, he was the beginning of that best highlight for me in this game when he stole the ball and had that touch pass from Galloway to the Tucker dunk in the fast break. But again, continues to be a glue guy for Indiana. 2 rebounds, just 1 turnover, that 1 steal. Like I said, 12 minutes for him was a 13 plus minus. So great, good things to see. That's what we need from him. That's what he can continue to be. Obviously, make a few more shots, be a little bit better, but 2 for 5 ain't bad. Took all of his shots just from 3. Be that role player and do what you can when you get out there. So I don't know. There's not much else to say on that end. Another positive from this game was getting to see Carlisle hit those 2 shots, see those 2 threes go down. I noticed early on in the game, I think it was maybe Indiana's second possession, they often will plan out the first couple possessions, IU will, in the games with a couple plays, have a playbook to go to try to do different things. I think usually the first kind of play Indiana always runs will be a dump down of some sort to get one of the bigs a shot. But second offensive possession for Indiana, they ran a play for Carlisle to try to get him to see the ball go in the hoop. He didn't make that one, but I do like that they saw the need to get him a basket, to see him get that seal broken. Because you almost feel like that's what it is with him. It's the seal of the basket that's causing him to just not take off. He continued to try in this game, was 2 for 7 from the field. Those 2 makes were the 3-pointers in the second half, which were great to see. And you saw some relief. I saw some relief in his shoulders and his movement after that. But he continued to contribute on the other end and be that defensive player. Even in the first half, he was one that I would say was the most engaged on the defensive end as far for Indiana. regardless of the lack of effort that we saw from the rest of the team in that first half. So good to see that. And like I said, I don't see taking him out of the starting lineup. I think his game will hopefully continue to come along, and I look forward to that time when it starts to click for him and he finds his role that much more on this Indiana team. Miles Rice, I think, struggled a bit in this game as well, but was the facilitator he needed to be. Second in assist, 5 assists, just 2 turnovers, and 1 steal, was a plus minus of 15 in this game. Took 1 3, missed it. A game. It's weird to kind of say it that way, but it was a game for Miles, doing what he needed to do and everything and contributing, but nothing too bad, nothing too glaring to look at. Defensively, I think he did well. Liked his talk that I saw, being there live, talking with the guys, running some things, running the offense for Indiana. So yeah, not much else to argue there. Shout out to Ja'Kai Newton for finally getting his first official points for IU. That was great to see him get in there and do that. Was really kind of in the moments and minutes that he did get in this game, just 8 minutes for him, but saw him guarding the 4 player, just shows his versatility. He can also guard the outside guy, that great wingspan that he has. And look forward to him just kind of getting a few minutes here and there. Obviously, it's something that he may get buried a little bit as this season goes on, but is one of those players that you want to get as many minutes for from a developmental standpoint as we can for the future of this team. So hope to see him get those minutes moving forward and find out what he can do for this IU team and his development for the future. So excited for that. Next, maybe I'll kind of talk a little bit about my trip. Those of you that didn't know or didn't see, and I didn't hopefully run into and everything, but what amazing weekend I was able to have up at IU. Friday, making the long drive from down here in South Carolina. It's about 12 hours of time with all the stops and everything. And then getting up and just experiencing that, what Indiana football is like right now is just amazing. I wanted to soak in every moment. I got up extremely early. Those that followed along on Twitter saw I got up early, went to upstairs. I'm wearing the shirt that I got from upstairs right now. Sorry, those listening, little visual moment for the show. Great to see that. That was a place that when I had my time in Bloomington, we would very often go to the upstairs, and it was just the one room for us at that point. We loved the kind of hole in the wall, little quieter bar that it was at that point. And now to see the new area with the scoreboard and all those screens and all the balconies that they have now, it's just amazing. Love what they've been able to do over there at upstairs, and very jealous of those that live in the area and to you students that are there to have that to go to. Just amazing. After that, went to Gable's Bagels, got myself a bagel sandwich. Ed was there working away. The line was out the door, as you would expect. Ed, just the nut that he is, got a picture with Ed working away. Made the amateur mistake of grabbing that bagel and then made the walk up to the stadium and kind of needed a shower afterwards. Was a little messy, kind of crazy to see, but hitting up the tailgates then. Everyone by that point, it was about 10 o'clock, was already cooking some tailgates. Not a lot of numbers, but already at that point, the numbers looked about the same that I remember them. And that was back in the day when the end zones were open, back in the mid to late 90s, is kind of the last heyday that I remember going to football games with my family and everything. And at that time, being 12, 13 years old, I just wanted to go to the games to catch football in the end zones or slide down the grass field on the cardboard. And then now to see what it is just amazing. Jumping around at the different tailgates, finally getting to meet Adam in person, seeing Josh and Amanda is always great to see. Bill was there to talk history. That was great. Travis, great to meet you. Bob, finally meeting you in person was great. Jumping over to Galen, seeing his crazy setup that he has. Jay was over there. Even to have Cheez-It Bowl, Citrus Bowl reps come by as we're there and talk to them. That's wild to see. Jumping over to see Coach Tonsoni, always great to see Coach, and young blood Brent there with him. Meet a few of their friends and everything. That's when kind of tailgating started to really kick up. And at that point, I just kind of took a lap around the stadium overall just to feel the energy that's going. And the band was starting up to get going for the walk and everything. Jumping over to a tailgate with some high school friends and my buddy Clint, who was my best man, his uncle and the old TIS guys and their tailgate down there on the south end. And just at that point, the energy just ramped up and the crowd was amazing to see. Went into the game again. Huge shout out to Matt Elliott for the tickets to the game. If you look back to my Twitter and can see the picture, just perfect 50-yard line seats up on the 28th row, and then watch Indiana battle through it, see the energy and everything. I was used to, when I grew up, we sat on the non-press box side, on the assembly hall side. So you're always looking at that press box side and you're seeing the large bleachers and how empty they were and how it always just an arch of fandom and very empty corners, even in the big games and everything. And to be looking the other way was one different to see and a different perspective that I'm not used to. And you're seeing it busy on that side or full on that side is awesome to see. But then the real dramatic moments for me was when I would look around my shoulders and just see the large side just filled with with fans and the towels going. Towels are such a cool addition to the game time situation. Obviously, the game was a little bit more nail biter than we would have liked to see. Third quarter was a little rough for Indiana, them getting pressure on Indiana. The dropped passes that normally would have been caught, but to see them pull it out was just amazing. And the energy and everything going into that's so great to see. And then afterwards, walking down to Kirkwood and feeling the energy everyone still had, walking along Kirkwood a little bit. I, at that point, was a little worn out. I actually did look at my watch at the end of the day. I walked 10 miles, which is fine. I can take it, but just to have that excitement, be there for that, I wanted to take in as much as I could while I was there. And I still feel like I didn't take in enough. But just so great to see Bloomington come alive, what that brings to Indiana, what that brings to the town overall. Bloomington, the economy kick that IU gets and Bloomington gets when all those people converge to see the sport, to feel that energy and everything. So amazing to see. And what great timing for the football team as far as schedule-wise now. Getting the bye this weekend. It's going to be tough not to have a game to watch, but perfect timing to milk some injuries that might be there, get guys better, get guys healthier, rest up, and then have the biggest game of the season coming up against Ohio State. Is just so great to see. Then running through the rest of my weekend, Saturday, and this is why I planned it out for this weekend. I mean, obviously coming up for the Michigan game would be enough, but getting to see this basketball game, getting to see IU in person, when who knows if I'll be able to make it up another time. Feel that energy. I know it's an early game in the season. Assembly Hall wasn't as rocking as possible. Not as many students there. Obviously a little hungover, a little tired from the game, but to get to be in that environment again was great to see. Finally getting to go over and thank Jeremy for what he has done to this program and everything like that. Get to finally meet Alex Bozich in person from inside the hall. Obviously, we're working on it, trying to get him on this show at some point this season and everything too. So that was just great to be in Assembly Hall. And then as I was there, scrolling through Twitter, saw that the volleyball team was playing that evening and how fortuitous that was. I immediately bought my ticket to go to that next, and then getting to see Richie and Joel, sit out with them in the parking lot. They introduced me to a lot of the players, parents and everything out. It was great to meet those guys, and then go in and see the volleyball team fight for it, win that second set, and play against a very good ranked USC team was great. And I got to even surprise of seeing my cousin there, who has season tickets to it, and sat with him and his wife there at that game. So to take in so much athletics and so much IU sports in one weekend was so great to see. And I'm so envious of you folks that live so close to that. And I would petition to you to go to more of them. We kind of, as human beings, when things are close and accessible to us, we take them for granted. We don't do those activities as much because it's easy. They're there to say no to. And I petition to you to go and be more active. My high school buddy that I was staying with there, Giff, I stayed at his house while I was there. We were talking, and they haven't been to a volleyball game yet. And it's a shame to hear that. And I think it's that product of that stuff being too accessible for you. I know Meg tries to get to as many things as she can, but I implore you that you've got it good there in Bloomington. And if you live close, and there's so many great athletics you can get to and support, and it doesn't have to be the marquee programs that you have to go to. There's a lot of other affordable sporting events to be a part of for Indiana. So what a great weekend. What an exciting thing to be. What a great opportunity I had to get up to those. And obviously shout out to my wife to be able to give me that opportunity and not hound me and say no. Too much going on, holding it down here at home, despite her own busy schedule and everything. I'm very grateful as well to be able to do that. So great to see everyone that I saw. Sorry if I didn't shout you out. Want to see more of you. Meg, got to see you next time. Want to see one of those sporting events as well. We'll go out and get breakfast like we did last time I was up there. Trying to make the move up there for another game if I can. I hope that I can at some point as this team continues to cook and everything, not only the football team, but to see what the basketball team can do moving forward. And speaking about moving forward, next game IU has basketball-wise is against South Carolina coming up on Saturday at 3 p.m. Looks like that one is on Peacock, so hopefully you still have that available to you, that Peacock subscription from the previous game that was on Peacock. So a bummer for me. I'm a little bummed that this is a one-off game with South Carolina. We're not going to do home and away with them, because if we played them next year down in South Carolina, you bet I would be down to that one. That's just very much in reach for me, about an hour away from me here. But yeah, I think that's about it. That's all we need to cover in this episode of Hoosier Morning After. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for allowing me to rant on my trip to Bloomington. So exciting again to see everyone. Thank you for your support. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up for me as well. Those of you listening on the podcast realms, if there is a way to rate the podcast, I appreciate you rating and commenting as well. We'll be back again the morning after the next game. Thank you for being with us. You can follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. There you find out more information about the show when we're going to go live. Martha is at the Mop Lady on Twitter as well. Go out there and have yourselves a wonderful day.
And as always, go Hoosiers.